Daryl Bean's not there, and I certainly would be if I could. So I just want to make sure that I got that out there. So this morning we're going to be spending some time in the 16th chapter of the book of John. And there's a train of thought that I will be following this morning as a result of, let's see, so you picture me, I'm at home, it's the beginning of this last week. Yeah, so it's like Monday and I'm walking around and everybody's gone, I'm home by myself and I'm saying, Lord, I don't know what to preach on, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. I've been preaching in the Sermon on the Mount, and now I'm done, and what do I do? But I knew it would come to me. So, I'm asking, I don't know where I'm going, but then spontaneously a passage came into my mind, and you say, Daryl, are you saying that God answered that prayer, and that in your spirit God revealed something to you? Yeah, hope that's okay. I hope that's okay. And all it was a passage that just popped into my mind, but it wasn't the passage per se. It was the fact that the passage contained a theme that Jesus was speaking about. And that really got me going, and so we are, of course, in a year where our theme is sitting at the feet of the Master, and the Master had themes that he spoke on. So what I would like us to do is to join him and his disciples. Just picture them walking along, and we'll have this kind of a picture in front of us today. And we just kind of come up behind him and we just start walking with him. And we're listening to things that he's teaching his disciples. And just taking a walk along with them and asking ourselves, hey, let's see if he says anything to them that might benefit us. Okay. So we're there we're just passing through. We have invented time machines, and we have set the Wayback Machine to the right time and the right place. And so we're just going to walk along with the Lord and listen to what he's saying to his disciples. And then we're going to think about what he's been saying. So John 16 is part of a block of text that scholars call the upper room discourse. Now, in this text from John 13 through 16, the things that occur did not always occur, and the things that Jesus said, he didn't say all of them in that upper room. But be that as it may, the whole block of Scripture is known as the upper room discourse. They did, however, occur on the same occasion. The term upper room is not found in the book of John, but Mark and Luke identify the location of their final meal together as an upper room that a homeowner allowed them to use. So Jesus is with his disciples in Jerusalem to observe the Passover. And Jesus is going to be speaking to them things that are meant to comfort them in the face of what their future is going to look like. We might describe what Jesus says to them as the dark side of discipleship, or we might say the consequences of being a disciple of Jesus in the first century. Now, we know from chapter 14, verse 31, at the end of that verse there, Jesus, they're there in the upper room, and Jesus says, "Come, let's get up from here, let's go." Okay, let's leave. I'm giving you the Darrell paraphrase there. Okay, come, let us go from this place. And so they're going to leave that upper room, which is probably accessible from the outside. Stairs going up, probably on the roof, covered with some kind of a covering. And so he says, "Come, let's go." So they leave the upper room and they walk down to the Kidron Valley. Now, I hope if you've never been there, I know most of us haven't, but if you ever get a chance to go, you realize that this ain't a very far walk. Just kind of down the hill and then up to the Garden of Gethsemane area. So on the way, as they come out of that upper room and they're walking together, just picture that. The disciples and Jesus there, and they're walking together, and Jesus is teaching them. He's giving them instruction that was meant to comfort them and strengthen them and give them peace in the face of what their future is going to look like. And so when we come to chapter 16, Jesus says, "These things I have spoken to you so that you may be kept from stumbling." Now, we're listening to what he's telling them. And he says, I have spoken. So he has told them some things that are designed to keep them from stumbling, from falling away, from being led into sin, from abandoning their faith. Different translations put it in those different ways. Because they have got some things in their future that are going to be coming upon them, and he has told them some things to help prevent that from happening. So let's imagine that we've been walking with them and listening to what he's been teaching them. So if we go back to chapter 13, for instance, Jesus, beginning at verse 5, in verse 5, it says he poured water into the basin. Now, here is the Word. The Word who was with God. The Word who was God. The one who created all things, and without him, nothing has come into being that has come into being. The creator of all. And we're watching him and we're saying, hey, wait a minute, what's he going to do with that water? Wait, he's going to wash their feet? And of course, he comes to Simon, and Simon says, Lord, Lord of heaven and earth, do you wash my feet? Peter had something he needed to learn, a weakness in his character that Jesus was strengthening. And what did he lack? Well, we know Peter. And so often it appeared that Peter lacked this quality of humility. So here is Jesus who says, I am gentle and humble in heart. Here is Jesus of whom the prophet Zechariah spoke and says, here as he describes him, humble and sitting on the foal of a donkey. Here is their teacher, their rabbi. And remember, and I'm beating this into your head for a reason, so you'll remember it when I'm long gone, that to be a disciple was to be like your master in every way. And this one was a humble teacher. And he wanted his disciples to learn humility, and so he condescended, not condescendingly, but he condescended to wash their feet, the work of a lowly servant. And then told them that you go and do as I have done to you. Now he let Peter know that if I don't wash your feet, you've fallen away, you've abandoned the faith, see? You have no part in me. Are they going to need humility to carry out the work of Jesus in this world? Well, we're going to see that they're going to need it. He gave them a new commandment. Now, one of the things about the book of John that's very much illustrated in this block of chapters, this block of scripture, that is also true of 1 John, that Jesus will teach about a certain subject, and then he'll leave it, and he'll talk about some other things and come back to the same subject. And then he'll leave it and talk, and then he'll come back to it again. So this is a pattern that we see in John and in 1 John. So this will be evident as we look at the passage that we have before us. I'm not going to get through everything today I have to say. But this gives me a moment just to express something to you. Okay. Becoming immersed in a passage and really digging into what's in that passage, that's just where my passion has come to be. So the result of that is that I'm going to preach until the time's up. Okay. Whatever that is, and then I'm going to stop preaching. But hopefully, we'll get things out of the text that will help us and benefit us. Okay, so I just want to let you know that. Okay, so he taught them a new commandment, that they love one another, but he says, as I have loved you. Now, usually what we think of is we love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Jesus says, I'm giving you a new commandment. You love one another as I have loved you. As a matter of fact, if you look at verse 1 of John 13, Now, the feast of the Passover, Jesus, knowing that his hour had come, he would depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world. He loved them to the end. Love, 1 Corinthians 13, you can finish this, never fails. Never fails. So we're going to see that he's going to be telling them about what their future looks like. Are they going to need love? Are they going to need to respond to the world with a love that Jesus had for them, which is, at its very essence, unconditional. No conditions. Are they going to be called upon to love people unconditionally? Yeah, they are. How you guys doing? Things are running late. You guys doing okay? I'm not gonna keep you here all day, but I just want to know you're okay now, because usually we're done. Okay, so just hang with me and we'll break. Okay. In chapter 14, he told them. Oh, excuse me. Let me see. Let me see here. Because sometimes I do things out of order. Okay, right there. Okay, we'll go there. 71. Okay, we'll get to that. He says, believe in God. Trust God. And we're listening to him. And we're thinking, okay, he's teaching them these things. And there's going to be a climax to this. There's going to be a point, and there is. And that's where we get to when we come to chapter 16, as he said, I have spoken these things to you so that. In fact, he says that quite a bit. I have spoken these things to you so that. This is one of those examples. It says, believe in God. Are they going to need that? See? Now, I keep asking these questions about what they're going to need, and I haven't even gotten into why they're going to need it so badly. But he has told them these things so that they don't stumble. And there's all kinds of ways to stumble. He said, I go to prepare a place for you. Are they going to need to know that? Is that something that's going to bring them comfort? Okay. And I tell you, we haven't even got to the gist of it. And then in chapter 15, Jesus, in the parable of the vine and the branches, he says in the midst of that, in verse 5, without me, you can do nothing. I'm the vine, my Father is the vine dresser, you're the branches, and if you're cut off from me, you're just going to die. Why is he telling them all this? Well, to keep them from stumbling. But why would they be tempted to stumble? See, that's our elephant in the room, so to speak. And then he comes back to love one another. He comes back to loving one another. And he says, you are my friends if you do what I command you. In the book of Isaiah in chapter 31, God called Abraham my friend. My friend. James points out to us that Abraham, well, let me ask you, can you be a friend? Can God call you his friend? Sounds like a big thing. I mean, it is a big thing. But what acts of heroism do I need to perform for God to call me his friend? James says, Abraham believed God. And it was reckoned to him as righteousness. And he was called. Who called him? He was called, God called him the friend of God. Wow. Yeah, it's a big deal. So, God can call you his friend. You don't have to be beheaded or do some great thing for God to, well, wait a minute. Believing in God, that's a pretty great thing, isn't it? That's what separates his from those who are not his. He's asking of us, and this is blessed for me, man, this is the most blessed knowledge. Trust his promises. Trust his promises. That's what he's asking for us to do. And then we live through that. And when we do that, God calls us his friend. But he also said, if the world hates you, you know that it has hated me before it hated you. Now we begin to start answering the question, why did he speak these things to them to keep them from stumbling? And now it begins to be made clear. And not only are they going to be persecuted, he said, if they persecuted me, they will persecute you. So along with humility and unconditional love and trust in God and understanding that without him we can do nothing, that unconditional love, again, being his friends by keeping his commandments, being thereby made into the kinds of people that he can call his friends. What kind of people are those? People that trust him. Along with all of that, he says, you're going to be persecuted. The world hates him, and they hate anybody who follows him. But, he said, I'm going to send you a helper. So, I want to follow them, and I want to keep listening to what he's saying to them and understand what these men are facing and how God's going to get them through it. As we continue walking with them and coming to the understanding of this theme that he's speaking about. And you know what? The real theme we haven't even started to begin to speak on yet. So come back next time. And we'll keep walking with Jesus and his disciples and keep listening to him and asking ourselves, is he telling them something that will benefit us? If you are not a child of God, a disciple of Christ, don't let it go until it's too late. The people in this room, to my knowledge, are Christians, Christ followers, striving to do better each day, to continue to walk with him. If you're not and you're out there, we're here, we're available. And we would love to speak with you and show you God's purpose for you in this life. As we stand and as we sing our invitation song.